I think it's still safe to say that the internet is a very intriguing, interesting, and somewhat of a great place still. That, of course, was still somehow New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who, just like a hot dog, is in some very hot water. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Radowski of WeAreChange.org. Lots of crazy, wild, and utterly ridiculous news to get in right now. There's also some very big news happening right now in Chiapas, Mexico, along, of course, with a dramatic decline in numbers that is worth talking about, especially now in context of an alleged super sickness, which we're all going to be discussing on this independent media channel. And before we do, it's important to note that the hot dog man in the beginning of this video right now has a lot of serious problems on his hands or buns, especially after a number of women are coming forward right now against him. This, of course, is major breaking news that we've been talking about for a very long time. This is important to note here that this is not the first allegation against him. There have been many. The New York governor's brother, who's also a very prominent anchor on CNN, had to issue a statement saying that because the governor is his brother, that he cannot comment or report on the story, which is interesting, since, of course, not so long ago, he was interviewing him and making him out to look like a superhero with almost consistent, non-stop coverage of the amazing job that his brother was doing in New York. So when it comes to praising your brother so he wins an Emmy, gets a book deal, that's fine. Your brother does something bad. No. That's a conflict in reporting there. Highlighting yet another perfect example of how egregious the, quote, most trusted name in news, the organization that YouTube works with and promotes in the search algorithm, play next and rolls out the red carpet for them, while, of course, screwing independent media at the same time. These are the bad organizations that YouTube artificially props up. Just saying this, because I'm one of the independent journalists getting screwed over by them. But anyway, as more photos and cringy videos come out of Andrew Cuomo, we still have to remember that according to many people, Cuomo is directly responsible for the deaths of close to 13,000 to 15,000 people in New York State because of his nursing home policy in 2020. An act that he committed, giving, of course, corporate immunity to nursing homes while suppressing information related to them, which could have been used to repeal the corporate immunity that made them liable for the deaths that happened under his command, under his watch, under his orders. So yeah, lots of criminal, disgusting behavior from Andrew Cuomo. Not, of course, with just random women he runs into, but of course the entire state of New York, that people are fleeing in droves and is becoming a collapsed state. So yeah, I know everyone likes to talk about these salacious kind of details and photos that are coming out, but in reality, the bigger scandal here needs to be addressed, and of course, we should refocus our efforts so people don't forget that, because that's an actual important issue that should matter. And of course, in our modern-day society, talk about serious issues that actually matter and affect you is a very rare occurrence, as perfectly highlighted by this latest Amazon scandal, because some shoppers said that they saw a World War II dictator in their new logo. And again, unless you're going to make the logo look exactly like this, I think it's fair to say that this is absolutely ridiculous. And just another waste of time. In related things that don't matter but everyone's talking about, U.S. President Joe Biden is launching a war against Dr. Seuss for allegedly not being culturally sensitive. Again, ridiculousness. And in related make-believe story time, fairy tales, the National Guard announced that 5,000 troops in Washington, D.C. are on high alert because of some online theories that Trump will be president in 2 days. Which I think is fair to say won't happen, and there is not even going to be any protest or actions or anything to justify, again, this massive security theater that is really a part of a disinformation propaganda social engineering campaign, according to my own personal opinion. So as real legitimate issues like the one that you're seeing in front of our screen right now get swept underneath the rug, mainstream media keeps dividing and conquering or distracting us, we here as independent media, well, we just do things a little bit differently, and that's why we just launched the website Uncensored.com. Yes, that's the actual website. Click on the link in the description down below right now. And I started to make almost daily content right now with me just being totally and fully uncensored, being able to say whatever I want on YouTube. You can't even mention what I just highlighted on my screen right now, or this thing, or this thing, or this thing, or this thing, and others. But on my own website, on my own platform, I could say whatever I want. And the feeling's amazing and incredible. I did this yesterday. I'm getting a lot of rave reviews and people being very happy with the video that I released specifically for them. For people who, of course, decide to sign up on LukeUncensored.com, it costs you less than 50 cents a day to be able to get reports from me almost every single day about the bigger truths that, sadly, I can't share here on this platform. CNN gets to do whatever they want. They get to eat live human brains on national television. That's fine. That clip is still on YouTube. I say a bad word, I'm totally done and finished. Again, that's ridiculousness, and to me, this is a win-win for everyone. By the way, if you signed up on our email list, the first video I did on LukeUncensored.com was free to everyone that signed up on the email list. If you are not signed up, make sure to sign up right now on wearechange.org in the top right-hand corner right over here, because I am going to be sending more free content sporadically throughout the next coming weeks and months that are only exclusively available on LukeUncensored.com. $15 a month, 50 cents a day, and if we could get enough people to do this, we're going to hire and expand the operations, and of course move past after being fully demonetized on YouTube. So yeah, LukeUncensored.com, click the link down in the description right now. Trust me, I got some big haymakers I'm throwing on our own special platform as we speak right now. Now, talking about our first topic here, I think it's very fair to say that governments, especially the U.S. government, when it comes to things like smoking, DDT, asbestos, CIA acid dosing people, the prohibition of alcohol poisoning, that it's fair to say that the United States government doesn't always have the best record when it comes to, of course, caring for the American people. And I think it's safe to say the U.S. government didn't always treat our health as a priority. So understanding the historical backdrop of this, also some very, let's just say, very interesting current events that are developing with the school children of this country, along, of course, with a very aggressive American foreign policy that just bombed a sovereign nation for who knows why. Well, of course, we know why, but the majority of Americans don't. When we look at a president that is telling you to wear masks because it might save one life, that then again just goes off and bombs Syria, you have some important context to think about, especially with what is happening with our modern current day, with the sickness that a large portion of the world was shut down for. Recently, we're also finding out that even according to the Associated Press, that influenza and the flu has disappeared in the same time that this sickness existed in the United States. And in the United States, during this important key time, we are seeing a, quote, very mysterious drop in flu cases, where we are seeing the lowest flu season on record. And this is being reported again by the Associated Press. Very similar things are happening in the United Kingdom, that according to Reuters, hasn't had a single flu and influenza case this entire year. This is very strange since, of course, February is the peak of flu season, and something totally different is happening this year that deserves to be talked about. Now, of course, correlation does not prove causation, but this is something that, of course, is something worth of note, something that we should not be afraid to talk about and consider here. Now, very interestingly, this is also happening as, of course, cases related to the sickness from last year are also dramatically going down. We've been reporting the numbers going down weeks ago, ever since they started to go down, and they're going down in the United States and also internationally all over the world. And when you look at the charts, especially with tests, with cases, hospitalizations, and deaths, all of them are going down very dramatically at a very quick rate. What's the reason? Why is this happening? According to many experts, this might be because we could have reached herd immunity already, and a large number of people could have had this sickness, not even know it, be asymptomatic, and it ran its course and is, quote, going away. There's a Johns Hopkins doctor that recently wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal that said that this sickness is going to be completely done with and finished by the summer of this year. But government officials are now bringing out the, quote, super sickness, as we're getting reports from the director of the CDC that they are, quote, deeply concerned, even though all the numbers are going down dramatically, because there might be a super version of this sickness that, of course, might change everything, according to them. The CDC director also said it's not time to relax, and according to many people's response to this, is absolutely fear-mongering about this entire situation. Now, to have a different variant of this sickness is nothing new. There have been many different variants of this sickness, and to call it a super variant when there's still very little preliminary data about the long-term effects of this, what's going to happen, what are the larger ramifications of this, is a little hyperbolic in my opinion, and it seems like a lot of people are over it, as of course the CDC and the World Health Organization are saying that other doctors and medical professionals are wrong, and that this sickness will not end this year, joining, of course, concerns by the CDC, telling everyone not to relax and to keep some of the most restrictive measures in place. And as you know, if you've been watching this independent media channel, these restrictive measures have had severe consequences, not just on society, not just on the economy, but also our mental and physical well-being that is dramatically being reduced. Some professionals have even argued that effects of the lockdown may be more severe than the actual sickness, but again, very hard to make those determinations, especially when there's so many variables in this entire situation. So many variables that the top organizations like the CDC and the World Health Organization have contradicted themselves many times. I always point out to the mask example with, of course, the CDC telling you not to wear masks, along with Dr. Fauci that told you not to wear masks on national television. Then they told you to wear it. Then they told you it was mandatory. Then they told you to wear two. Then they told you not to wear two. Now they're telling you to wear two again. And now 18-month-old babies are being kicked off flights, with reports of Frontier Airlines staff celebrating this incident with high fives. Yes, there's a new video going around showing an entire family being kicked out because flight staff demanded that a baby wear a mask, even though there's a policy that children under the age of 2 do not have to wear masks. And kicking off an entire family because of that is just absolutely ridiculous. But all of this has been ridiculous from the very beginning, as people have been arrested, strip searched, humiliated, and lost a lot of their civil liberties for doing simple things like walking, where there's another clip coming from Wales of a man being abused by the authorities for, quote, walking too far from his home. Even in the United Kingdom, we had a police chief come out saying that they've had enough as the police because a lot of the government orders that they're told to follow are, quote, not policeable. And when you harass people for walking and sitting and doing average non-criminal offenses with no victims at all, arresting people, harassing them, destroying their civil liberties, ticketing them, and silencing them over basic human acts, you have a good point to make there, especially with how absolutely ridiculous all of this has become. And now add that with the super sickness and more government tyrannical measures and politicians using this sickness for their own personal benefit, we of course are moving towards more absurdity that needs to be absolutely called back, as of course there's even some governments like in Israel using, quote, freedom bracelets. Yes, just like in 1984 where the term freedom was slavery. Yes, they have freedom bracelets in Israel that they're using as, quote, tracking devices to launch as alternatives to quarantine. Also in Israel, they are going full steam ahead with, of course, shot passports that, of course, many people will need to enter stores, malls, restaurants, and gyms. And if you didn't get a rushed experimental shot, you're not going to be able to enter any of those things. And of course, there's lots of people concerned about that in Israel, since of course other governments like the UK government previously released statements that if a woman is pregnant or planning soon to be pregnant, or if there's a small child, they shouldn't be taking this shot. Now, of course, with all of this happening, with all these conflicting messages, with all this constant flip-flopping of basic policies, with, of course, the ridiculousness of the lockdowns, which even the Mexican president called tools of dictatorships and punishment of everyday life, we wonder why there's, of course, a lot of skepticism, as seen in Mexican towns like Aldama, which, of course, is a town in the southern Mexican state of Chiapas, which, according to CNN, the whole town is refusing the sickness shot. And of course, their skepticism is joined by many in the military, which of course the New York Times and other large publications are recording that as much as 1/3 to over 50%, over half of military personnel are deciding to personally not take this shot, as of course some have some legitimate concerns about it. Now, as the shots become more readily available, as of course even Johnson & Johnson got recent approval by the FDA here in the United States, this definitely is playing out to be a very, quote, interesting situation unfolding in front of us, since there of course is a lot of mistrust. There's a lot of mistrust that of course is justified against the medical community and the government. Is it the right move? Well, that, of course, is a totally different question. Also, with the numbers going down dramatically, people don't see a need for this shot. And again, I have to reiterate, I am not a medical professional or doctor, and you have to make your own medical decisions based on your own personal needs and wants. We are all biologically different from each other. We have a different brain chemistry, a different gut flora. What is right for you may not be right for me. All that I would ask is people do their research, do their homework, and make up the right decision for themselves personally. How will the situation unfold from here with the cases dramatically going down and government officials warning about a super sickness? Well, let me know down in the comment section below. I don't have a magic ball that tells me the future or lottery numbers. I don't get any of those. I can only assess information, break it down to you, and help you make up your own mind after doing some critical thinking, looking at the evidence and the sources of what I'm saying. If you're curious about any other articles that I listed here, just put in the titles into a search engine, pull them up, read them yourselves, and if you think I was wrong in any way, shape, or form, I always appreciate the constructive criticism. I have a lot more to say about this very specific topic and how I'm handling it personally myself, and that, of course, will be on LukeUncensored.com. LukeUncensored.com. Check it out. I'm truly having a lot of fun doing this. And I wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for you. And this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.